This is part 15 of LINQ tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss conversion operators in LINQ. All of these standard query operators belong to conversion operators category. In this video, we'll discuss the conversion operators that start with to, that is toList, toArray, toDictionary, and toLookup. ToList operator. As the name speaks for itself, this ToList operator extracts all of the items from the source sequence and returns a new list of t. This operator causes the query to be executed immediately, which means this operator does not use deferred execution. We discussed what is deferred and immediate execution in our previous session, so if you're new to those concepts, I would strongly encourage you to watch that video first. Let's look at an example of using this ToList operator. Here we've got an integer array called numbers, which contains numbers 1 to 5. Now what we want to do is convert this integer array to a list of integer, and the easiest way to do that is by using toList method. And notice that we are calling this toList on this numbers, and if you look at the type of numbers, it's integer, so we are going to get back a list of t, and t here is integer, so we are going to get back a list of integer. And then finally we are using this for each loop, looping through each integer within the result and writing the value of I onto the console screen. So to speed things up, I have already typed this program, so let's copy and paste it within the console application. So here I have a new console application within the main method. Let's paste the code, run it, and as you might expect, we should see the numbers printed from 1 to 5. Now let's look at an example of using toArray. So what is this toArray operator? Again, the name speaks for itself. ToArray operator extracts all of the items from the source sequence and returns a new array. Again, this operator causes the query to be executed immediately, which means it doesn't use deferred execution. Let's look at an example. So what we want to do here is convert this list of string to a string array. And this list of string at the moment contains country names. So once we convert it to a string array, we also want the elements within that array to be sorted in ascending order. And to achieve that, what we are doing is we are writing a simple LINQ query here. And then whatever result this LINQ query produces, on that result we are calling toArray. Okay, so it's going to return a string array for us because each country is of type string. So this LINQ query is actually going to produce I enumerable of string. On that we are calling toArray, which is going to convert that to a string array, and then we are using a for each loop, looping through each string in that result and then printing the value onto the console. So I have this typed already, so let's copy it. I'll have all these examples available on my blog in case you need them. Right, so let's actually so we have the country names now in ascending order. Now let's look at toDictionary. So this toDictionary operator extracts all of the items from the source sequence and returns a new dictionary. So what's a dictionary? A dictionary is a collection of key value pairs. We discussed what a dictionary is in detail in C# tutorial, so if you're new to dictionary, please watch that video. Again, this operator causes the query to be executed immediately, which means it doesn't use deferred execution. Let's look at an example of using this toDictionary method. And to look at the example, we will be making use of the student class. I have typed the code that is required for the student class. So if you look at the student class, it contains 3 properties, and they are student ID, name, and total marks. And then within the main method, we need to build some student objects. In reality, we may get those student objects from a database table or from an XML file or from any other external data source, but here we are actually spinning them up within the main method. So let's copy that code and paste it right there. So here we have got 3 student objects with all those properties populated. Now what we want to do is convert this list of students to a dictionary, and within that dictionary, we want student ID to be the key and student name to be the value, right? So what we're going to do is, on the list of students, we're going to call toDictionary method. Now within a dictionary, we want student ID to be the key, so I'm going to specify a lambda expression here, x such that x dot student ID. So this lambda expression is going to specify what is the key going to be, right? And then we want another lambda expression which is going to specify what the value is going to be. So we want the value to be student name, right? So we are using another lambda expression there. And if you look at this toDictionary method, there are 4 overloaded versions. At the moment we are actually using this overloaded version where we specify both key selector and element selector. Alright, and what is this toDictionary going to return? Notice that it is returning dictionary of int comma string. So why is it returning dictionary of int comma string? Because within this dictionary student ID is going to the key, and if you look at student ID data type, it's integer, and value is name, and if you look at the data type of name, it's string. So we will get a dictionary with the key integer data type and value string data type. So let's go ahead and create a variable of that type, dictionary of int comma string, and let's call it result. Now let's use a for each loop. So for each string, let's call it strn result. All we want to do now, what is this result? This result is actually a dictionary. So what do we have in the dictionary? Within the dictionary, it's a collection of key value pairs, right? So we can't really say for each string str and result, because that result is not a collection of strings, it's a collection of key value pairs. So we should be saying for each key value pair, and when we say key value pair, we also need to specify the type of key and the type of value. The type of key is integer and the type of value is string, and let's call this kvp in result. So what we want to do is print out the value of key and the value of value. So kvp dot key \t for a tab space and kvp dot value. So now when we run this, as you might expect, we should have student ID and student name printed onto the console. Now let's look at another example of this dictionary. So this time what we want to do is we want student ID to be the key, but at the same time we want the entire student object to be the value within the dictionary. In the previous example, the value is actually student name, but this time we want the student object itself to be the value. Right? So to achieve that, what we're going to do, x such that x dot student ID, and I'm not going to specify element selector. So I'm actually going to use this overloaded version where we specify just the key selector, and we want the key to be student ID. Now when I do this, we are invoking this on list of students. So by default the value is going to be the student object itself. Okay, so if I hover the mouse over, look at what we are getting back. We are getting back a dictionary of int comma student. Okay, so we need to change the type here to int comma student. So now we have a key value pair of int comma student, and key value pair dot value, look at this, what is it returning now? It is actually returning a student object. So now I can use it to retrieve the name, and even if I want total marks, I can retrieve that as well, because now the value is the entire student object. So kvp.value.total marks. So when we run this now, as you might expect, notice that we got all the 3 properties printed out. So we are getting name and total marks from the value, and key, the student ID from key. Okay, now you can even use the second overloaded version where we also specify element selector, and here we want the entire student object to be the value. So x such that x. So here this lambda expression is going to say the value is going to be the entire student object. So when we run this, we should have the same output. Right, now let's look at using toLookup. And one other important thing to keep in mind when we use toDictionary is that the keys within the dictionary must be unique. If 2 identical keys are created, because of that key expression, your key selector lambda expression, if this produces items with duplicate keys, then it is going to throw an exception. Let's actually try to do this. Let's add another student object. And let's say this student ID is also 103. Let's say XYZ is the name. And now when we run this, we will actually get an exception. Look at that, we got an argument exception there, and it says an item with the same key has already been added. right? A dictionary cannot contain items with duplicate keys. Keys has to be unique. Now let's look at toLookup. So what is this toLookup going to do? It's going to create a lookup. So what is a lookup? A lookup, just like a dictionary, it's a collection of key value pairs. A dictionary cannot contain keys with identical values, whereas a lookup can. So that's essentially the difference between a lookup and a dictionary. And to create a lookup, all you do is use toLookup method. Okay, notice that here on list of employees we are using toLookup, and when we create this lookup we want job title to be the key. Okay, so basically we are grouping employees here that are present within this list by job title. Let's actually look at this employee class first. So here we have got this employee class with three properties: name, job title, and city. So let's copy that employee class definition, paste that within our main method, within our console application. And within the main method, let's also create list of employees. So at the moment we have got 6 employees. So within the main method we have this list, and we've got here 6 employees, and if you look at their job titles, 2 of them are senior developers and 4 of them are developers. Now what we want to do is create a lookup which is going to group the employees within this list based on job title, and then we can use the job title as the key to look up developers and senior developers. Let me actually show you what I mean. So list employees dot toLookup. Again, if you look at the overloaded versions of this toLookup, they are very much similar to what we have for toDictionary. Look at this. Here we again specify a func whose name is again a key selector. So we need to specify our function here. Let's specify it in the form of a lambda expression. We want to group the employees based on job title. So this is going to create a lookup based on job title. It's going to group the employees based on job title. Now we can use this where keyword that's available in LINQ. So let's call this employees by job title. Right, so this is a lookup now. Now what we can do is the key within this lookup is job title, which means we can use that key to look up employees by their job title. Okay, so let's actually print the output like this. We want to print developer and then all the developers, and then senior developer and all the senior developers. Okay, first we want that message employees grouped by job title. So console dot write line employees grouped by job title, and then we are going to use a for each loop. So for each where, so again, what is a lookup? A lookup, just like a dictionary, it is also a collection of key value pairs. So for each key value pair, so let's call it KVP, in our employees by job title collection. Now what we want to do is first print the key. So what is the key here? Job title. So console.writeLine kvp.key. So that's going to print whether it's the employee is a developer or a senior developer. And for each key there are multiple values. We are grouping employees based on that key, based on their job title. So after that key is printed, we want to print out all the employees, right? Their first name, their job title, and the city. So what we are going to do is use another for each loop here. So for each var, let's call it maybe employee in. Now this is the lookup. So we're going to take this lookup. In this we have employees grouped by their job title. So employee by job title, and look at this, the moment I open square bracket it's asking me to specify the key. So how do I get the key? We can use this property right here, kvp.key, or you can simply hard code it, something like developer or senior developer. But now since we are using a for each loop, we want all the keys and the respective employees that are grouped based on that key. So what I'm going to do is actually pass this key here. And then obviously, though we are using anonymous type here, this var is actually employee, which means we can actually print out the different properties of that employee. So first of all, let's print tab space and then employee dot name \t employee dot job title \t and employee dot city. Right, so let's go ahead and run this now. Notice that we have developer and all the developers, senior developer and the respective senior developers. Okay, now let's look at one more example here. So we have this list of employees here, and this grouping is done based on job title. Now there may be a requirement where you want to group employees by city. If that's the case, all you do is actually, let's print two blank lines here. So console.writeLine and console.writeLine. Let's copy this piece of code. So now we want to group employees by city. So list employees to look up, what I'm going to do is x such that x dot city. So this is going to create a lookup in which we have employees grouped by city. Again, you can use the other overloaded version where you can specify your element selector. Do you want the entire employee object to be a value within that lookup, or only a few properties of the employee object? It all depends on what you specify as the lambda expression for this element selector. If you don't specify anything, by default the value is going to be the employee object, because this is list of employees, right? So here we are getting employees by city, right? So employees grouped by city, and for each key value pair in employees by city, so we want to print out the value of key and then look up employees based on that key. So now when we run this, first employees will be grouped by job title, and then employees are grouped by city. So those are the employees in London office, and those are the employees in Bangalore office. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.